Pleased to be joined now by Silverbacks assistant coach Carter Cochrane following another overtime game, this time a 6-5 loss in overtime to the Vernon Vipers on Wednesday afternoon. Cards, let's just start with what was a back-and-forth game, another crazy one, a lot of goals. You guys pick up the 1 point. You tied again at the end, but I just want to know, of course, your thoughts overall. How did you evaluate this game?
Yeah, I think that obviously we got the point there and we tied it up late. And I mean, you want to give your guys credit for battling back like that, but it's a little bit tougher to do that when you kind of dig your own grave with it. So, I think that this is twice now where we've battled back hard on these guys, and resiliency is a good trait to have, and that ability to battle back is obviously great. Not a lot of teams can do that, and some teams are able to, and we've shown that we are one of those teams. And I think what's separating us from being a great team, I think right now we're a good team. There's no doubt about that. But the difference right now is we need to be able to find that urgency and that killer instinct when we're up 3-1. And, I think that the way we played when they made it 5-3 and that response and everything, like, guys dug deep and they showed that they had it in them. They showed they weren't tired. There was no fatigue. I mean, we're fresh today. And I think that at 3-1, we made a choice to decide to see if we could just play a little bit individual and just kind of be a little bit casual. I think especially on the power play, and our power play was very indicative of our overall effort in the first 50 minutes. It was just kind of a wait and see approach. And, these guys are dealing with some things they played the other day. They're, got some guys out of the lineup. We're just going to see that if we can beat them instead of just trying to take the game over. And, I think that the reality is we have to find it within ourselves to take that next step as a team and understand when a team's vulnerable and be able to put them away when it's 3-1 there. And, it's a lesson that we hopefully have learned now. This is kind of multiple times now we've been in these situations and we haven't been able to step on teams' throats. So, it's something that we're going to have to find within our group here.
So the positive, of course, you talked about the resiliency coming back. The negative is what happened with that 3-1 lead. You always say, learn from the negatives. So what is it that you can learn from this one? I mean, obviously the power play had a big part of it. What exactly happens when you give them two shorthanded goals? What is it you're looking to on the power play that can't happen?
Well, so I think that there's a balance that exists in a power play that goes unnoticed a lot of the time, and that's the offensive and defensive responsibilities. And I think 5-on-5, we've shown we have a great ability to balance those two things. And, we've really committed to a defensive approach first. And, that's not to say that we don't want to score goals, but I think two instances on the power play today where we're more concerned about keeping a puck that's 3 feet inside their blue line in than we are about guys streaking behind us or creating turnovers. And can we win those battles and keep those pucks in? Absolutely. But we have more guys than they do when we're on the power play, and there's no excuse for anybody getting behind us or jumping behind. And if that means we have to work harder as a group of 5, well, that's exactly what we need to do. And, I think that it was just a level of, I don't know the right word, but definitely just our group kind of, oh, hey, we're up 3-1. Oh, this power play, maybe I'll get a touch here and we'll be able to put them away, instead of like being the group that's going to go out there and take it. And I think that, we can't be surprised that these guys don't go away. And I think it's just a matter of balancing those responsibilities and not thinking that your only job on the power play is to score goals. And if that's the reason that's what you think your job is to do out there and you get scored on, well, I mean, you got to be able to understand how the math doesn't really work there.
Let's talk about a line at 5-on-5, a newly put together line that, oh my goodness, did they jump off the page and have a game today. Matthew Bourgault scores, Danny Ciccarello scores twice, and they're playing with Julian Racine. So 3 goals for them at 5-on-5. What did you see from them, and why'd you put them together in the first place?
Well, I'll have to defer to my head coach there, Shatsy. That's his call, working with the guys up front. And just kind of were moving things around yesterday in practice, and those guys ended up together, and they looked great. And it was just kind of ride a little bit of momentum from a little chemistry that seemed to form in practice there, and wanted to give those guys an opportunity to show it in a game. And, I mean, it's not hard to see why they would be good together. I mean, you have Danny Ciccarello, who's a physical specimen, and he's really, I think it's been not a long process, but I mean, we haven't played enough games for him to actually endure the process of being able to understand what his body and his physical abilities can do for him in this league. I think that the two biggest assets that he has are his speed and his strength. And I think that looking at what he was able to do at in prep before he came here, he might have been better off having one or the other. I think that he's so fast that there's times where he doesn't realize how he can slow the game down and protect pucks and use his body to his advantage that way. And I think we saw the different elements to his game today. I thought that he was able to drive a lot of the offense with his speed up the ice. He was able to be patient and create more time for him to make plays down low in the zone. Obviously scored 2 goals in very different ways. One showing his shot off the rush, another driving hard to the net. And I mean, I've gone up against him in practice. He's not a lot of fun to deal with, and how big and strong he is. And, and then you talk about Matt Bourgeau, who's another guy, big, strong, can really shoot the puck. And just about him understanding the pace he needs to play at, how it's not always just about how fast you move to play with pace, but just the way you think the game and the plays you have to make to create time and space for yourself. And he did a great job of finding that middle guy on their second goal at 5-on-5, and then the way he was able to, or their third goal, the way that he was able to create that turnover, being in a good spot defensively to set up Chicky's first one. Another great play. And JR is just a guy we've talked about before, and he fits in really well with our group here. And he was able to provide the kind of right fit with those guys. And it'd be nice if those guys can continue to do that and provide that kind of secondary scoring, where we've kind of now found a nice little look with 3 of our lines there. And if they're able to continue to do so, we're going to be able to have a lot of sustainable success offensively.
So that was one line, obviously a really strong game. Is there anyone else? Sainsbury ties the game and with 20 seconds to go. Anyone else on the team that you want to, Rushinsky got a goal too. There's that pairing you've been talking about. Anyone else you want to shout out to for playing well?
Yeah, I think Sainsbury's a guy that's easy to talk about every day. And, he's just such a quiet leader, and, he wears our C for a reason. And, he really stepped up big today. I think that from our back end standpoint, this is where we maybe showed a little bit of our youth today, where we've had some guys that have had success offensively that were maybe a little too eager jumping up into the play, or maybe thinking a little bit too much offense first, and had to lean on our veterans a little bit more today. And, Rushinsky and Sainsbury stepped up huge. Obviously, Rush getting that first one early, and then Sans tying it late. Those guys eat a lot of minutes for us. And, I think that they've both taken huge strides this year. And I think that they're guys that we're going to continue to lean on. And, it's one of those nights where, as I always say, and you brought it up already, build off the positives, learn from the negatives. Simon Tassi, Sullivan Mack, and Noah Serdachny have been one of the hottest lines in the league to start the pod here. And, they were a little bit quiet today. And you talk about Chicky's line stepping up. And, we talked about how our youthful D have been great for us so far. They took a little step back today, and Rush and Sands had to step up. So you're starting to see the full body of work and why we feel so highly about our group when you look at the individuals that comprise the team. But the reality is that if we want to show that potential and we want to take the steps that we want to take as a team and as an organization, things like today can happen. We need to be able to maintain 3-1 leads. I think that's kind of been our kryptonite all through the pod so far. We're 3-2-2, and we can't be satisfied being a near 500 team, or it's been great the last 4 games. There's been jostling for first place. How cool is that? We want to take that first, and we want to stay with it. Send a message to anybody not in our pod what type of a team we're going to be like next year. And I think that it's important for us to understand the negatives and what they are and how we can learn from them. But, it's foolish for us to say that there's not anything we can build off of from today's game. And just about being able to round into form and be able to be a more complete hockey team.